Hey everyone, this is Hungry Monster. I am in Seoul now and wanted to show what I ate for 24 hours. Some really authentic traditional Korean dish like the Korean noodles or the boiled pork belly, a glimpse of one of the biggest department stores in Seoul, and this large pork cutlet I got, the Korean style Tonkatsu, a super traditional ox bone soup located in the heart of Seoul, Uljiro, and a true legacy in Seoul, a cold noodle Naengmyun restaurant opened since 1953, featured on the Michelin Seoul guide for many years. So I want to show you from the traditional all the way to the modern restaurants and a glimpse of what some of the locals might eat. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I hope you enjoy this video. My first stop is a Korean noodle or myeon restaurant showcased in the Michelin Guide Seoul called Myeon Seoul. This is located near the Apgujeong Rodeo Street, where you will find a ton of trendy restaurants and cafes. And this is a second restaurant by this famous chef called Kim Do-yoon, who has a Michelin one-star restaurant. So I knew I wasn't gonna fail here. This is my first time and I was pretty excited to be here. The inside is very modern for a Korean restaurant, perfect for the younger customer demographic. They have an iPad with the menu. Obviously their highlight are the noodle dish. Their signature seemed to be the perilla oil noodle, the spicy bibimbap noodle. They also had a mix of veggie noodle, kind of like a bibimbap, as well as a beef broth noodle. It was hard to choose because I wanted to try all of them, but I started with the beef broth noodle and the perilla oil noodle and a dish of dumplings, as well as a dish called jeuk, which is basically sous vide slow boiled pork belly. This is the perilla oil noodle, or called the Naengmyun. Perilla oil is pretty commonly used in Korean cuisine. It's very similar to sesame oil, but has a little bit more of a refreshing herb-like scent. This is a cold noodle. It was, I thought, a decent size. The perilla oil scent was very pleasant. This is the Hanu, or the Korean beef broth noodle. I'm always a big fan of Hanu Korean beef broth. I mean, there's nothing more rich than that. But it's a clear type of soup compared to like your Soulungtang, which is white. There is just a few slices of beef, but this is a warm dish, obviously in a warm broth. So the noodle here is going to be a little bit more soft than your other perilla oil, which is cold. I love dish like this, the jeuk. I think boiling pork belly using lots of herbs and spices makes it so soft. It kind of gets rid of excess fat. I'm enjoying this with some garlic and some fermented pickled shrimp, which makes it so savory. I really like the quality of the noodle. If I must make an analogy, it almost felt like silk. It still has its own identity and texture, each noodle, but the noodles just kind of go by like silk, very fluid and very soft. Definitely softer than somen or any of the Chinese noodles. I would say it's closest to the Inamjang udon. And I think the noodles are so great because apparently they use some of the highest quality wheat from Korea, France, and Turkey. And apparently also using some soybean and mung beans. So they definitely perfected the noodle manufacturing technique. The perilla oil, or the Naengmyun, again had a very simple taste but very refreshing aftertaste because of the perilla oil. The soft noodle just mixes really well with the oil and just makes the whole slurping and swallowing very easy. The beef broth noodle was also great, very clean beef broth, no fat, no oil there. Although the Naengmyun probably is truly their signature dish with that really unique perilla oil scent. I thought the dumplings were also pretty solid, very thin dumpling skin, and I really enjoyed the pork belly jeuk. It was very soft, nice thickness, and very needed because the noodles are all carbs. So you're going to be definitely hungry with just noodles. In fact, even with some of these side dishes, the noodle, when you just finish the meal, might feel perfect in terms of portion, but it's actually not that much, and so you might be even able to share another dish if you go with another person. The noodle dish are mostly priced at about 13 to 15,000 won, which is about 10 US dollars. So I think it's pretty well priced. I do see that this place will be pretty popular among young women because it's just a very simple, savory noodle dish, not too smelly, with a nice restaurant sort of vibes. I will definitely be coming back if I am in the mood for some noodles. For a guy like me though, I might feel that the portions are kind of small overall and I need to keep ordering more. For me, the meals overall just feel a little too simple. I know that's the whole point, and there's the beauty of that too. But if I'm gonna go out to have a meal, I don't know if I'll go, all the way here just for a noodle dish. I will definitely be going there if I'm around. It doesn't have the same sort of impact to me as like a barbecue or a grill, which you'll see in other Korean cuisine. The meal was also very short, and so I just don't have a very impactful impression from this meal. But again, I did absolutely love the noodles, and I will definitely be coming back here. Next, I went to the Shinsegae department store in Gangnam near the Seoul Express bus terminal. This department store has historically ranked number one in the overall revenue among all the department stores in Korea. So they have a ton of restaurants and shops here. Today I wanted to actually go to this Tonkatsu restaurant. Tonkatsu meaning pork cutlet, originally from Japan, but the Koreans have made their own version of it, much thinner than the Japanese version, with a lot of pounding on the meat. This place was packed, a lot of young customers. Tonkatsu is a very popular dish in Korea because it's a very filling dish that's also relatively cheap. 그냥 이거 하나 주세요. 혹시 제로 콜라 있어요? 네, 제로 콜라. This looked so good to me. It's just fresh off the fryer, soaked in this savory, sweet, fruity sauce. So you have the crispiness, but also the softness from the sauce. It was very generally portioned, and you have to cut it into pieces like a steak almost. As you can see, it's not that thick like the Japanese style. I also really enjoyed the crust. I think making high quality panko is really an art because that's what really determines how crispy and also savory this crust will be and will complement the meat. It came with a small bowl of rice, which I probably could have had two, but the tonkatsu itself was already too big. It came with actually a platter of cabbage salad with some Korean style sauce like ketchup and mayonnaise on top, and I enjoyed this with some peppers, which made the dish a little more refreshing. This one is priced at 13,000 won, which is going to be about $10, so I think pretty well priced. Overall, I think a very relatively simple meal, but also very appetizing, with the breaded pork and this sweet fruity gravy sauce. So I showed you some Korean style tonkatsu. Tonkatsu in general is a very common meal in Korea, so if you're ever in Seoul, please give it a try at any of the department stores. They should have an authentic brand in each department store. My next stop is a Soulungtang restaurant in the Ulchiro district of Seoul called Inamjang. Soulungtang is a ox bone soup that's boiled over a long period of time with a bunch of different Hanu Korean beef parts. This particular restaurant has been open for at least 50 years in this very traditional district of Ulchiro of Seoul. This is a relatively small restaurant with a very cozy and old school atmosphere. You will also see a lot of elderly customers coming in for some good Soulungtang or boiled beef to enjoy with soju. The first thing you'll want to do is prepare your kimchi. They'll have some kimchi available in this jar in every table. So you take out as much as you'll think you'll eat, and you can slice them with these big scissors. These Soulungtang restaurants are supposed to have very good kimchi because it's supposed to go really well with the Soulungtang beef soup. And this place apparently even has a patent for their kimchi using all the beef soup. These are your side dish, your scallions, peppers, and some sauce, soy sauce, for what I'll show you soon, which is this. This is the special boiled beef platter. They boil the actual meat like brisket, but also some other parts like the cartilage, the beef tongue, as well as tendon, and they are slow cooked, so it's really soft and goes perfectly with the special soy sauce. You see the server is hand cutting all the cartilage, which is supposed to be very chewy, almost gelatinous, supposed to have a lot of collagen. For those new to this kind of dish, this might look a little intense, but this actually provides a lot of complex texture than like your typical meat. This is your Soulungtang, typically served in these large stone pot to preserve the heat. The color of the soup looks really good. I'm a little suspicious if it's too white, but this has a little bit of that opaque, little white / yellow look, but you can still see through the soup itself. And it's supposed to have these thin slices of usually brisket or flank. And this one came with a good portion of a soft white noodle, kind of like your somen noodle. You usually have to add some salt, and I enjoy adding some pepper and lots of scallion to sort of offset the greasiness of the meat. This is the boiled beef platter after all sliced and arranged. I'm starting off with the somen noodle. This noodle is going to be very soft. I'm pretty sure it's slightly boiled with the soup before it comes out. I really like the beef boiled platter. I think it's very sophisticated with different parts, the meat itself, cartilage, tendon, beef tongue, yet nothing really smells. Definitely for someone with an adult taste. The soup, you can automatically taste the richness of the Korean beef, yet it tastes clear and very clean. You end up eating a lot of carbs also. There's going to be the noodle and usually a bowl of rice. I personally enjoy eating this with some rice. Soulungtang itself only costs about 12,000 won or about $10. However, the beef platter is the expensive dish. Our cost about 75,000 won, which is about, I guess, the cost of a plate of steak. So you could either come here just to enjoy a bowl of soup, but if you come with a couple friends or family, you can order this beef platter in the middle, and that's going to be a very rich meal for the whole team. Otherwise, the restaurant being located in this district, which is kind of on the older side, it's like the old Seoul, has a very, very classic atmosphere. It might not feel entirely clean, but all the servers were very attentive and they looked very genuine to me. And this restaurant is a very classic. It's very well known among most Seoulites, so definitely worth visiting once. My last stop is a cold noodle Naengmyun restaurant, also in the Ulchiro area. This one has been open since the 1950s, around the time of the Korean War, and has received many years of Michelin Guide Seoul. Naengmyeon, which literally means cold noodle, is considered a North Korean cuisine. A lot of people from the north ended up coming down to the south during the Korean War and apparently settled in this area, and that's how this restaurant came to originate. This restaurant was huge with lots of tables, very high turnover, very clean. This is the Naengmyun. Hue means sashimi. They use a particular fish called the skate, which is considered a very unique delicacy. And I'm pretty sure they marinate this, ferment the skate in this spicy red sauce and put them on top of this authentic chewy noodle. This particular style of noodle is usually made with potato starch, and so the noodle is very chewy and very elastic. You're not going to be able to cut it with your teeth instantly like udon or soba, but this is just the characteristic of the noodle. Usually recommend cutting the noodle once or twice. And the quality of noodle was great. It was chewy but very fresh. Their sauce was very addictive and savory. Definitely some spiciness, definitely some vinegar, some garlic, ground red pepper paste. The skate sashimi had a very crunchy almost texture, and I really liked it. I enjoyed this after adding some vinegar and some mustard to increase the savoriness. And you can see here how I'm having a little tough time cutting each noodle down, but again, each noodle is very thin, so that's not really a problem. And that's just really the fun of this dish. I think a really good meal, especially during the summer when it's really hot. This dish definitely has a very strong particular taste with the red pepper paste, and this is really different from the first store we went from, the Myeon Seoul. This dish is priced at, I believe, 15,000 won. Some Koreans might think that's highly priced, but they are serving some authentic pieces of fish. It's decently spicy. It wasn't terribly spicy, so if you're okay with spicy, definitely a place I would recommend. And most importantly, restaurants like these are true legacies. I mean, to continue a restaurant from 1953, right after the Korean War, in this heart of Seoul, and they're truly representing the face of Seoul in the 1950s, with a mixture of people from the north into the south, in inventing this amazing noodle dish with potato starch. And so, there's a reason, I think, why this place has gotten Michelin recommendations. So that concludes this episode on what I ate in Seoul for 24 hours, all the way from the trendy noodle store in the heart of Apgujeong to Old Seoul and the really classic Soulungtang and Naengmyun restaurants. I hope this is helpful during your tour at Seoul. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.